Hi, everyone. Lisa Haven here. And there is so much happening right now. Everything from Google being a gulag, if you will, censoring everyone into oblivion, them along with Facebook and Twitter, to some of the communist socialism mentalities that are creeping into our culture. So with that, I wanted to bring on someone who's kind of been in the middle of it all and been attacked severely. And so I have with me today a very special guest, Mike Adams with naturalnews.com. So Mike, are you over there?
I'm here, Lisa. Thank you for having me on. It's an honor to join you today. And I'm a big fan of your videos, by the way. We see them and we share them with our audience all the time. So you're doing great work.
Awesome. Thank you. And I love your stuff too. So I was excited when I got your content. I'm like, oh, okay, you're coming on. But with that, can you tell me what is at the front and center of the biggest problem that I guess we're facing here in America today?
Well, clearly, we can't have a free society unless it's based on the freedom to think. And the freedom to think is a basic human right. It's a core concept of human dignity that even Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Touted and agreed with. Freedom to think is human dignity. And when you have censorship by the tech giants, they're assaulting your freedom to think, your freedom to explore, freedom to learn, and freedom to share information. This is so much worse than any book burning that the Third Reich ever even attempted. This is burning ideas, burning knowledge. This is destroying humanity's future by destroying the ability to learn and share. And that's what the tech giants now pose. That's the threat they pose to all of humanity now. And the fact that we are enduring this and that we are still here shows how much humans want to be free. So again, thanks for having me on to talk about this. It's really crucial for our time.
Absolutely. I think a lot of the times, we get to be in our normalcy bias bubbles, I guess, and we go about day-to-day life and we don't see YouTubers like you or YouTubers like me or people being removed from these platforms. This is something people will hear through the grapevine, or is that really going on? And a lot of the times, not our audience is awake, but I'm talking about a lot of the sleeping masses out there. They're oblivious to just how close we are to losing every ounce of freedom that we have, even here on the internet. How bad do you think it is? Say on a scale of 1 to 10, how close are we to hitting some kind of tyrannical dictator, maybe even Stalin era to, the freedoms that we had at our founding? Where do you see us at?
We're already there. We're already at a 10 because Google has already built psychological profiles of every person. Google is worse than any government spying program ever in the history of humanity. Google knows what you search for, what you read, what videos you watch. They know what you're purchasing. They're monitoring and reading all your Gmail. They know your location and your physical movements by tracking your Android phone or apps even on iPhones. Google is the most dangerous entity on this planet to human freedom. And remember, I was completely blacklisted, my website, Natural News, blacklisted from Google for 1 week as a test program in the year 2017, before almost anybody else. And then I was deplatformed from YouTube in 2018. And so really, I'm one of the most banned voices in the world today. Even I was deplatformed before Alex Jones was banned off all the platforms. Not that we're competing to see who was banned first, but we've been hit very hard. And yet we're still here, and we built our own platforms like Brighteon.com and so on. Because again, humans want to be free. People want their freedom. And that's why they're screaming out for voices like yours, Lisa, and mine, and others who are here to really serve the interests of humanity and help spread information that can help keep people healthy and alive and aware.
What do you think it'll take for some of that sleeping mass to wake up?
Well, if you look back to the Third Reich, which really the SJWs are modeling their behavior after, even the people of Germany at the time, they had the concentration camps in their own backyards, essentially, and they were still supporting Adolf Hitler, still supporting the popularity of the fascist socialist party. Nazi means National Socialist, of course, so that was far left socialism with the power of the state in the hands of an authoritarian tyrant, which is what the left wants. They did not change, to answer your question. They didn't wake up until the real horrors of the concentration camps and the gas ovens and the Zyklon B and everything was exposed to them, and when they realized they were complicit in that. So it took the mass murder of 6 million people to wake up the German citizens to the nightmare of what they had unleashed. And I fear that the left is going to try a death squad assassination attempt of conservatives and Christians, gun owners, and Trump supporters. I don't think they'll succeed, by the way, but I believe they will attempt it because they are so deranged, they're so filled with hatred and bigotry and intolerance, they cannot coexist in a free society with anyone who disagrees with them. And they will try to carry out a genocidal mass murder attack. They will fail, but only then will they, I think, come to their senses, or some of them, and realize what they've become.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I talk about on my channel often. I see you do reports on it on Natural News. But when I sit there and publish all these articles, we have people on CNN, MSNBC, ABC, all saying Trump supporters are racist. If they like the president, they are a racist. And these are the kinds of terms that we get. We have New York Times coming out recently saying, let's drop the word racism and start describing race as like the event of racism, because the word racism has been weeded out, but we need to make it more powerful and more stronger. Basically, what they're saying at the New York Times is, let's make it more of a powerful and get more people angered at Trump supporters, at people who support the president, at people who are conservatives and Christians. And so I see this rhetoric, and I see it upticked from Maxine Waters and all these Democratic politicians pushing this kind of rhetoric in our culture. But I don't see that coming from our side. There's nobody on our side saying, let's initiate violence, let's go forward, let's do this, and blah, 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 let's stop them from coming into our restaurants. We don't do that. As conservatives, I think a lot of us are very like, we're not going to do anything unless we're forced to do something, But it's the mentality of where the culture is. So it's terrifying to think that we could actually get to that level of like the camps and things. Do you think that's an actual possibility in America? And if so, how long?
Well, absolutely, I believe they will attempt it. And understand that left-wing media is a hate machine. Deliberately, they're pushing hatred. And I remember as a child going to elementary school and learning about the Holocaust for the first time and wondering, how could an entire nation of people be whipped up into such fervent hatred to try to commit genocide against an entire ethnicity? Now, today, watching the New York Times and CNN and MSNBC push this hatred and the lunacy of the left and their violence against conservatives in restaurants, in public, their death squad flyers, their calls for the mass execution of conservative speakers like Ann Coulter and others, I now can understand how these evil people can whip up such hatred. We are seeing history repeat itself. We are seeing, again, the radical left today is walking in the footsteps of the Third Reich. They're trying to create the Fourth Reich here in America. But of course, in America, they first have to take away your guns.
Yeah, they're going to have to get us at a more controllable level. And if they take the guns, that's exactly what's going to happen. That's exactly what Stalin did when he took out all his military personnel from his military. And then he went after some of the media and started taking out all these certain key people. Now, in the end, we know it hurt him militarily, and that's how he was taken over. But going forward, I think some of the people in power now look at that, learn from the mistakes. So I don't know what's coming in the future, but
you've just nailed something very important. Communists always carry out massive purges and death squads as they're trying to rise to power. Even Stalin, back in the mid-1930s, the Great Terror, killed between 700 and 750,000 Russian citizens who he believed were political enemies. Doesn't that sound exactly like something that Barack Obama ordered the FBI and the DOJ to do, to commit surveillance and to put to ensnare and entrap Trump people? And now the left is trying to silence all people, to take away their human dignity. I'm telling you, these are echoes of Stalinism, echoes of the Cultural Revolution of Communist China under Chairman Mao, echoes of Pol Pot. This is North Korea in the making, courtesy of the radical left in America today. But again, the good news, if there's a silver lining to this, Lisa, is that I think they will fail, because I think the American people will not simply roll over and be mass murdered without fighting back. And I think that the American patriots can fight back very effectively.
And that's my hope, I guess. Do you think Trump will come into play at all? Do you think we have time with him in office? And I think there's hope for us. I mean, I think if we continue to battle the information war, if you will, I mean, we've got so many fronts because we're being shut down at every level. When you go on Google and you're not allowed up the feed, and YouTube, you're not allowed up the feed, and Twitter and Facebook, you're limited. And it's hard just to get people to move over to other outlets like Brighteon, like what you're doing over there. And I'm excited about that. I have a YouTube, or not a YouTube, God forbid I call it that, video platform. But a video, I have a channel over at Brighteon, so I want to encourage you guys listening to check that out also. But there is hope, and I guess my hope is that we get there before it's too late.
Well, what we want is peace, and we want the ability to participate in public debates and public speech without being censored. And that's really the foundation of a peaceful civil society. So we are calling for civil society where every voice is treated fairly. And again, I mentioned Martin Luther King earlier on, and this is really the spirit of what he talked about, was that Black Americans should have equal standing to have their voices heard and have their dignity respected and have their rights preserved. And frankly, that's all we're asking for now. Conservatives are treated today the way many Black Americans were discriminated against in the 1950s and 60s and 70s and so on. So really, if Dr. King were alive today, if he had not been assassinated, by the way, with the help of the FBI, which has been corrupt for many decades, they tried to kill him and they succeeded, by the way. That's another topic for another day. But if he were alive today, he would be on our side. The side of human dignity, and we want to support freedom of speech and freedom of thought for all people of all races, all religions, even all sexual orientations. It doesn't matter to me if someone's gay, even if someone's transgender, if they want their voice heard. I don't want transgender indoctrination of children, but if you're a transgender adult and you want the right to speak, I think that your voice should have the same platform as anybody else's voice, but don't censor us for criticizing the transgender indoctrination of children.
Yeah, I believe in the freedom of everyone just the same. It doesn't matter what color, what religion you are. And look, if liberals were getting persecuted today and it was flipped, right? I don't like liberal views. I can speak against liberalism, but hey, if they're getting suppressed in what they said, then I'll stand up for that. If they're getting censored and they don't have a right to speak, then I will say something, and I would stick up for my liberal brother and sister, even though I disagree with them, simply for the freedom of speech. And I think that's the other thing. We need to start waking up even those on the left and say, hey, look, just because we're the first victims doesn't mean we're going to be the last, because we're not.
Excellent point. Right, because if you live in a society where a totalitarian minority of techno-fascists get to decide what is truth, what are facts, and who gets to speak, then guess what? Their decisions will change over time because different people will come in. And you could have leftists censored for a generation with only conservative voices allowed. And that would be just as much of a crime against humanity as what we're seeing today, which is the opposite of that. So I'm with you, Lisa. We support the freedom to think, the freedom to speak, the freedom to share, the freedom to learn and read. And by the way, people are going to be offended by certain things that they might come across. They can change the channel. You don't have to follow a channel if it offends you. But Google doesn't have the right, or YouTube or Facebook, to censor channels because they think somebody else might be offended. That's not right at all. That's a crime against human dignity and the First Amendment.
I say amen times like a million, right? Because it's a terrifying world that we live in right now. So with that, I guess, do you have any concluding thoughts? And then also, where can people find your information? How can they follow you and check out your store? Because I know you have some amazing health supplies there as well.
Well, most importantly, we've built this video platform, a free speech alternative to YouTube. It's called Brighteon.com. And you have a channel there, Lisa. I want to tell your followers and viewers that we will have the ability to follow and subscribe to your channel on Brighteon very soon. We're putting another $1 million into R&D. We have a new R&D team. We'll have like buttons, and we'll have much more coming, improved comments, and so on. So your fans will have another place to, just in case YouTube isn't giving you the full exposure that you deserve. As far as my website, naturalnews.com is what I'm best known for. And, we're here fighting for human freedom. And we do a lot of lab science research on clean foods and things like that. So we have a big fan base as well. But I just appreciate you, Lisa, and what you're doing. And thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, thanks again for coming on the broadcast. I truly appreciate it. And for all you listeners out there, I'll leave a link in the description box below to his website and to Brighteon. Make sure you follow me there also. Well, I love you guys, and I hope you're going to have a good week this week. Well, I'm Lisa Haven, and that was Mike Adams signing out.